China covered up the coronavirus at a time when millions were traveling. And there's a war between Thailand and China, a meme war. That and more on this week's China News Headlines. This is China Uncensored. I'm Chris Chappell. Guess what? According to internal government documents leaked to the Associated Press, the Chinese Communist Party knew before January 14th that they had a deadly epidemic on their hands, and they didn't warn the public for 6 days. Now let me clarify. I'm not talking about small-time local officials in Wuhan where the coronavirus outbreak began. I'm talking about the very top level of the Chinese Communist Party. On January 14th, the National Health Commission held a teleconference with provincial health authorities. The teleconference was held to convey instructions on the coronavirus from President Xi Jinping, Premier Li Keqiang, and Vice Premier Sun Chunlan. So yeah, Xi Jinping and other top leaders knew before January 14th, but Xi didn't warn the public about the epidemic until January 20th. During that time, communist authorities allowed officials in Wuhan, the epicenter of the disease they knew about, to hold a mass banquet for tens of thousands of people while millions began traveling through for Lunar New Year celebrations. Even though an internal government memo from January 14th said that with the coming of the Spring Festival, many people will be traveling and the risk of transmission and spread is high. All localities must prepare for and respond to a pandemic. Meanwhile, Chinese health officials were telling the public they weren't likely to get infected by other people.
At present, we have reached the latest understanding that the risk of sustained human-to-human transmission is low.
So privately, officials were saying that the risk of transmission and spread was high, while publicly saying it was low. And the World Health Organization helped the Communist Party cover it up by tweeting, "Chinese authorities have found no clear evidence of human-to-human transmission." Meanwhile, inside China, where doctors were seeing human-to-human transmission, those who tried to raise a warning were ignored and, at worst, crushed. Doctors in Wuhan were afraid. It was truly intimidation of an entire profession. So why did the party let thousands of people get sick while they tried to keep it quiet? According to that government memo from January 14th, authorities were worried about political stability. The memo demanded officials unite around Xi and made clear that political considerations and social stability were key priorities during the long lead-up to China's two biggest political meetings of the year in March, which it turns out they had to cancel anyway because they let the coronavirus become a pandemic. That's called stupid with Chinese characteristics. So the Chinese Communist Party let the coronavirus spread around China and the world because they didn't want to lose their grip on power, which is why the coronavirus is truly the CCP virus. But there's one group the Chinese Communist Party can't seem to intimidate: meme creators, at least the ones in Thailand. A famous Thai actor who goes by the name Bright retweeted a photo of Hong Kong last week that referred to it as a country. His Chinese fans were very upset, and he later posted an apology. And peace was restored to the internet for one hot second. Then his girlfriend, who calls herself New, retweeted a popular COVID-19 conspiracy theory that China invented the virus in a lab in Wuhan. Uh-oh. Chinese netizens then found this old exchange between the two. Basically, it was a photo of New in Taiwan, and Bright said she looked like a cute Chinese girl. She corrected him, cute Taiwanese girl. And a meme war began. My favorite Chinese state-run media, the Global Times, decided it was their job to jump into the Twitter dumpster fire. They published a hit piece on Bright's newest TV show, basically suggesting that Chinese people boycott it. An army of Chinese nationalists also made their way to Twitter, which is blocked in China, to demand a public apology from New. Now normally, this kind of onslaught is enough to make even the biggest, most powerful corporations in the world crack. Like that time Mercedes-Benz pathetically apologized to China after an Instagram post quoting the Dalai Lama. But in Thailand, Thai trolls showed they could go toe-to-toe with China's Wumao, the 50-cent army, who get paid to post pro-Communist Party messaging on the internet. Here are some of my favorites. But perhaps most impressive is the Virgin Wumao and the Chad Thai, which just shows you the might of the Thai people. You see, Chad Thais don't care when the Wumao criticize the Thai government because Chad Thais also criticize their own government. But it didn't even stop there. Now, Hong Kong and Taiwan are joining forces with Thailand to further burn the Chinese Communist Party. A Taiwanese mayor said, "Thank you, our friends from Thailand. Thailand has long been a popular travel destination for the Taiwanese. We look forward to increased exchanges after the COVID-19 outbreak." Hong Kong protest leader Joshua Wong called for an alliance between Hong Kongers and Taiwanese to support Thailand, Laos, Cambodia, and Vietnam to fight Chinese environmental destruction. Some are calling it the Milk Tea Alliance. And can I just say, after months covering a deadly pandemic, it's nice to finally have a story bring a smile to my face. You know, I'm not putting that thing away, because get a load of this next story. The Chinese Communist Party has asked the Wisconsin State Senate to praise them. Wisconsin Senate President Roger Roth received 2 emails from Chinese consulate staff asking that he pass a resolution they wrote supporting China's battle against COVID-19, praising China's response to the virus. Here's the resolution that the Chinese consulate wrote. You might recognize some familiar propaganda, like the idea that China was transparent and quick in sharing key information, thus creating a window of opportunity for other countries. What did Roth do? He put together his own resolution. It starts out by acknowledging that the Communist Party of China deliberately and intentionally misled the world on the Wuhan coronavirus, and by standing in solidarity with the Chinese people to condemn the actions of the Communist Party of China. Along the way, he manages to work in references to the Communist Party's human rights abuses, including Tibet, Uyghur concentration camps, forced abortions and sterilizations, forced organ harvesting, the Tiananmen Square massacre, and religious persecution. He's not quite a Thai memer, but I gotta say, I like the guy. Going against the Chinese Communist Party seems to be getting trendy. Here's Speaker of the House Nancy Pelosi talking about the teleconferencing app Zoom.
Zoom is a Chinese entity.
That comes after reports that Zoom might have quite a few security flaws. So when you're using Zoom, be careful not to share your credit card information or your anti-CCP political views. Meanwhile, the UK newspaper, the Daily Telegraph, has said it will stop publishing propaganda paid for by China. It's a section called China Watch. They had been running it about once a month for more than a decade. It blends into all the other articles in a paper, but is actually written by the Chinese propaganda department. American papers have also run China Watch, including the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal, and the Washington Post. The Telegraph was allegedly paid more than $1 million a year to do it, which is to say, here, I'm showing China Watch on my show, where's my money? McDonald's China Corporation has apologized after a local franchise banned black people. This is the notice posted at that McDonald's in Guangzhou. It's part of a much larger wave of racism against Africans inside China. For more, check out the recent episode, China's Racist Attacks on Black Foreigners. The weird thing is, many people are telling us that they didn't get a YouTube notification about this episode. So if you haven't seen it, check it out. Of course, China's attacks against foreigners happened after weeks of the Chinese Communist Party calling any criticism of the party and how it handled the coronavirus racist. And in another move without any trace of irony, the Chinese embassy in Sri Lanka called for freedom of speech after its Twitter account got suspended. Twitter said it was a systematic mistake, not anything personal. The embassy said it regretted this systematic mistake and wanted to reiterate that freedom of speech must be honored. Yes, the Chinese Communist Party is talking about how important freedom of speech is on Twitter, which is banned in China. Next, I'll answer a question from a member of the China Uncensored 50 Cent Army. Since YouTube has been killing us with demonetization, the China Uncensored 50 Cent Army has stepped up. They're viewers like you who help us keep up the fight of truthful, uncensored information by supporting China Uncensored through the crowdfunding website Patreon. So, today's question comes from Wenyi Tang. Why did Trump back down from calling the coronavirus Chinese virus? It seems he changed his tone after the call he had with Xi. What happened? Yes, President Trump did used to call it the Chinese virus. But Chinese state-run media began pushing the narrative that calling it the Chinese or Wuhan virus was racist. And then Western media picked up that narrative. Here's Trump at a press conference back in March.
Okay, why do you keep calling this the Chinese virus? Why do you keep using this? A lot
Because
of
it
people
comes
say
from
it's
China.
racist.
It's not racist at all, no, not at all.
So for Trump, it was a way to focus on the role the Chinese Communist Party played in the coronavirus spread, since, they were trying to spin a tale that the US military actually spread it. But there were real reports of xenophobia and racist attacks against Asian Americans, so Trump stopped using it, and tweeted that the US must protect Asian Americans from being blamed for the virus. That was after several influential Asian American political groups sent a letter to the White House. So it seems to have been more about that than any phone call with Xi Jinping. I personally have been using the CCP virus to talk about it, which I really wish Trump would use. So, Mr. President, if you're watching, you're welcome. Anyway, thanks for your question. So, I'd like to talk about something weird that happened on the show. This week, we published this episode about the Chinese government targeting Africans inside China. Now, even though China Uncensored has 1.2 million subscribers, as of this recording, that episode got around 60,000 views, way lower than our recent episodes, which get hundreds of thousands of views. There could be all kinds of reasons for that. Maybe people just aren't interested in that topic. But many subscribers told me YouTube never sent them a notification about that video, even though they have notifications turned on. Others told me that YouTube has unsubscribed them from the show multiple times this year alone. So something really weird seems to be going on with the YouTube channel. That's why we rely on you to personally share these episodes. Double check that you're still subscribed and check back frequently to see if there are new episodes. We make at least 3 episodes a week, so if you haven't heard from us for a while, YouTube isn't sending you notifications. And of course, YouTube would have put us out of business with how badly they've been demonetizing the show. So the only way we can afford to keep making it is because of support from viewers like you on Patreon. If you want to hear your question answered on the show, join the China Uncensored 50 Cent Army on patreon.com/China Uncensored. Once again, I'm Chris Chappell. See you next time.